Welcome to IS340. Today we'll be covering chapter 8 on securing information system. So why is it so vulnerable? So if you don't protect your system, it could be destroyed in a few seconds actually. Security is to include policy, procedure, technical measure, which is basically backup, okay, unauthorized access, theft, damage. Some controls here we have methods, policy, procedure, okay. So let's take a look at some of the problems we have in terms of hardware. Okay, we do have breakdowns, errors on programming, okay, and software in terms of programming, installation, okay, disaster, power failure, floods, fires, which do happens in certain parts of the country, tornado, earthquake, okay, use of network, okay, is it local or offshore, right? Next, take a look at a typical security challenge. Here we have a client, communication lines, and corporate server and corporate system. Okay. And we mentioned earlier about natural disasters like flood, fires, and other failures. Okay. So errors could be unauthorized access, hacking, for example. Here within the lines, there could be tapping, sniffing, theft for radiation. In terms of server, okay, malware, theft, vandalism, denial of service or DOS, and system theft data, copying, alteration data, hardware failure. Okay. So why is it so vulnerable? As we all know, the internet is open. It's a freeware, and everybody can access it. And due to the size, it can impact quite a large. In the event if an organization is affected by a virus, the whole system could be shut down. Okay? And another way is to have a permanent connection. This is basically a wired medium. Okay? At times you will get viruses through attachment, okay, and also people from the inside or the employees itself could share secrets, okay, and also instant messaging, okay, which employee could use their own personal network to communicate, to leak out data. As for wireless, individual could scan your frequency via radio, and from there they could tap into your network, okay, and at times service set identifier, okay, this is basically you require the employees or user to identify themselves. Could be certain encryption key or password. Okay. While driving is basically eavesdropping, and while the person, the hacker, would drive around the building using radio frequency antenna to tap into your network. Okay. Root access is one of them too. So here we see example how an intruder could tap into your network. As you use the Wi-Fi or the wireless network, an intruder could access it at the same time. So other type of threat would be malware. Here we have viruses, As you all know, viruses could harm your PC. That's where you have antiviruses, worm. So these are basic programs that duplicate themselves and makes your computer slower. Trojan horse, uh, it sits in your computer and it will appear at certain time or when it triggers by the intruder. SQL injection pretty much uh, it's like a database. Okay, siphoning out could be your credit card number. Okay, spyware. Basically, it's monitoring what you are doing. For those website you are surfing, key logger keeps tracks of the stroke of the key. Okay, when you type with the keyboard, keeps a record. Let's talk about hackers versus crackers. Hackers basically they will try to uh, crack, basically to find information on your PC. Crackers are pretty much the same, where they will have the information uh, and they know how to do it. See, right? Activities like system intrusion, theft, okay, system damage, cyber vandalism. Okay. So take a look at some of the crimes that out there. Spoofing, basically sending fake email to misrepresent, for example, a bank asking for a credit card number, okay, and redirecting it to a different website. Sniffers basically eavesdropping. This is to steal files, email, important information. Next, denial of service. In this case, a program could run from a different computer and they could keep requesting your website, and just imagine if there's thousands of other computers requesting uh, your website at the same time, and this will technically crash your website. Okay, that's where we call distributed denial service. Okay, numerous computer, right? And botnet basically a zombie PC. Okay, where they use a malware. So today is technically a crime to hack into somebody's PC, okay? And where it intrudes your privacy, your data, okay, without any authority. And some of them are being shared or being sold. Okay? Also, we have identity theft. Here we mentioned about social security number, credit card number, phishing is sending emails, okay, look-alike, okay, evil twins pretend to be a Wi-Fi on the internet, right? And once you get into their internet, they could ask for your username, password, okay, other personal data. Next we have farming, basically creating a bogus website. Okay, it could be a airline ticket or hotel booking, where the individual could blindly mislead to a discount and then provide their credit card number. Okay, click fraud, online ads, where this used to be pop up. Okay, so other things like global threats, cyber terrorism, cyber warfare. Okay, where countries will attack infrastructure of other countries, for example, power lines, internet, okay, water system, right, or nuclear power, things like that. On top of that, we do have internal threats where the employee itself is a threat, where they know inside knowledge, and there's no sloppy security, okay, sloppy procedure, okay. And other than that, we have social engineering where password being shared to outside people, right. Also, we have commercial flaw software where there are some codes written in the software, or bugs, hidden bugs, right, where the other software company could access your data. Okay. And also zero-day vulnerabilities where companies should protect against malware. Next, we have patches. These are basically uh, updates, or you have, for example, those who are using Microsoft or Mac or even iPhone, they do have service pack, okay, updates, which they frequently will repair any errors on the software. Oops. So here they say if there's a flaw in your system, pretty much you can affect the whole network. I think an example like recently we had a problem with D2L, and just imagine the whole university is unable to access it. With that, we do require legal regulation requirement. Okay, here are some of the uh, electronic record management. Here we have HIPAA. This is basically medical and privacy procedure. Graham-Leach Bailey Act for financial. Sarbanes-Oxley Act, basically for accuracy and integrity of financial information. Electronic evidence, okay, white collar crime, where sometimes authority will use email or, okay, DM messages, okay, a transaction for proceeding. Okay. This is basically computer forensic. And next we have general control. This is basically control of the normal security of users using the technology, okay, which could be software, hardware, okay, data, administrative. Okay. Next we have application control. Pretty much how a company deals with payroll, okay, and the input, processing, and output. Other components do include risk management, okay, where they do frequent audit, okay, types of threat. In this case, for example, power failure, okay, probability 30%, what's the loss, and in terms of monetary, okay. Uh, so next we have policy. Uh, this is basically ranking the risk, how severe the threat is, and which they frequently revise. At the same time, there's a require for identity management. Okay, basically validating the user. Okay, and different roles of, could be a super user where they can access everything, or normal user with certain restriction. Example of security profile here we see for HR, for example, the different rights and read. Okay, so on top of that, how do we recover? Okay, there is a need to design a recovery plan. Okay, and also business continuity in the event, for example, there is a flood and all the hardware has been wiped out. So is there a backup, right? Is it on cloud, right? So what's the corrective action? I mentioned earlier about audit. Okay, it's usually done by the IT department, where they do audit all the system, the hardware, the software, document, training, personnel, and they ranks the strength and weakness, the impact of everything to the company. So let's take a look at, this is example of company. Here we have the weakness, the impact, error. Okay, yes, no justification. Okay, notification management, was it reported? Okay, so there is constant communication. So identity and authentication, most of us would have experienced this: password, token, smart card, biometric. These are some of the example. On top of that, we have firewall. Okay, firewall are basically software to prevent being being hacked easily. Okay. Technologies include filtering of the packet, inspection, okay, network address, and proxy filtering. Okay, where only certain network could access. Here we see example of firewall. This is basically the internet. We have the first firewall, the server, the inner firewall, and corporate system, and the database. To protect the organization. Let's take a look at detection system, or monitoring hotspot intrusion, for example, antivirus, anti-spy, which usually has already been installed in the firewall, and today we do have a system to organize, to monitor, okay, threats, for example, UTM. Next we have web security. Okay. This is pretty much on VPN, or virtual private network. Okay, and we do have WPA2, which is high level authentication and encryption. So encryption technically is basically blurring your input and before it's being sent, and on the other hand, it will able to decrypt the information at the output. Here we use the SSL, which quite common you see on the, we see on the website, especially for e-commerce website. which used to be TLS. Methods of encryption, we have symmetric key encryption, which is basically single, okay, sender receiver. Public key encryption, it requires mathematical, right? So let's take a look example slide. So here we have the sender and we have the public key, message scramble and decrypt on the recipient. Right? Quite straightforward. Next we have digital certificate. Okay, this is basically a data file, okay, for user, where it's more on company to recognize their document. PKI or public key infrastructure is a cryptography certificate widely used in e-commerce. Let's take a look at the next slide where they show how digital certificate works. So we have the institution, okay, and request certificate from the internet, okay, and these are basically authorities, and the certificates has a serial number, version, expiry date, and it's been authenticated prior sending to the user. Next, we take a look at system availability. Okay. For online transaction or any website, it should be no downtime. Okay. Fault tolerant computer system, stock market, okay, especially, right, hardware, software, and high availability computing, quickly recover from a crash. Okay. It could be defense, okay, utilities. Next, we have recovery oriented computing. So this is pretty much preventing or correcting, autocorrect the faults, okay, on the system, telling the user which part of the system need repairs, controlling network traffic. This is preventing, for example, music or video from being sent on the network or email. Okay, and also we have MSP or managed security service provider. Also, we have cloud computing, which you all know. So it's quite difficult because it's on the internet and it's quite difficult to track. Okay. Also, there is security and privacy procedure or SLA agreement with the provider and the company. And lastly, we have a mobile platform. This is basically policies on using your mobile platform, for example, in your company, accessing the data, or alternatively, bring your own device or BYOD. Okay. So that's pretty much it for the class today. If you have any question, please email me. Thanks, bye.